an instant heal. Spell Drain you cast on yourself, and then the next single target spell to come at you heals you for half the damage it would have dealt instead. And then Nether Ward, transform your Twilight Ward. What Twilight Ward is we just combine a Holy Shadow Ward into one. So you have your ward up, and then if you have Nether Ward, it replaces your Twilight Ward and makes you, reduces damage to that school that you get hit by for 12 seconds. The really cool stuff is in the next two tiers. 75 is about your pet, and you can do 3 crazy things here. The Grimoire of Supremacy basically replaces your demon with a more powerful demon. This is permanent and passive, so if you take this, you can have a Shivan or an Abyssal as your pet instead of the current run-of-the-mill Warlock pets. All of these are more powerful. They have slightly more powerful versions of their current abilities. The Grimoire of Service is a 30-second cooldown that lets you have 2 pets out at the same time. And then Grimoire of Sacrifice, this is something else we've heard a lot, is we never really liked the idea of the Destrolock who just gets rid of their imp and then just doesn't have a pet the rest of the time. But players would tell us, I really like that mechanic. Is there any way of bringing it back? So we thought if the pet wasn't gone permanently, that could be a cool thing. We really like to feel that, like, the hunter cares about his bear or his rabbit, his bear or his tiger. You can make rabbits tameable pets, whatever. But the Warlock doesn't really care about the demon. The demon's just kind of a tool for the Warlock, and if it makes sense to kill the demon in order to burst your DPS for a little bit of time, the Warlock will probably take that trade. And then level 90 is themed about demons, not your demons, but some really powerful demons from Warcraft lore. All of these do some pretty crazy things. Archimon lets you curse an enemy, which will also take damage you do to that enemy. Kil'jaeden's Cunning lets you cast while moving, straight up. It doubles the cast time or the period of the spell you're casting while you're moving. And then Illidan's Guile lets you do a little bit of splash damage to other enemies in the area with your 3 main nukes there. All right. Hopefully the Warriors are all back with their beer by now. So the first tier is the Charge tier. And the first thing I have to explain about what we did with Charge is we thought it was kind of lame that both Juggernaut and Warbringer were kind of the same talent that lets you use Charge in combat. So now Charge can just be used in any stance and in combat by any warrior. So you choose Juggernaut if you want to charge a lot. It just has a lower cooldown on the charge. Double Time lets you charge twice in a row before it infers the cooldown. So you can charge once and then charge again if you missed your target or you changed your mind. And then Warbringer puts a 5-second root at the end of your charge. Tier 30 is about survival. We put Enraged Regeneration in here. Again, warriors have a lot of defensive cooldowns, and we thought we could make Enraged Regen a little more powerful if we made it a talent and made you choose it instead of the other 2. Second Wind we also combined with Blood Craze so that it's when you take a stun or an immobilize effect or you just take damage, you can regen some health and rage. And then we liked the idea of Impending Victory, but it never really was as cool as we thought it could be. So this basically turns Victory Rush into a core rotational ability. It adds a rage cost and a cooldown, but you can use it any time. Level 45 is the crowd control tier. You can have Throwdown, which is your basic stun. You can have Piercing Howl, which is the big AE snare. Or Cripple, think about your auto attack hits, and your Rend Ticks is basically applying Hamstring without you having to do it. I know, but you can only pick one. What are you going to do? Level 60 is about silencing those annoying casters. This is the existing gag order where you're Pummel and Heroic Throw will silence. Root Interruption is a fun talent. It is a DPS increase, but it's so minimal and situational that we're not too worried about every warrior out there taking it. Who knows, the Shaman will probably interrupt before you get to it anyway. And then Disrupting Shout's a new idea. It's an AE interrupt. It's not something we've ever done before. So you can interrupt a whole group at once with this shout. So level 75 is about a little bit of having fun with burst and resource management. Deadly Calm we decided to make just focused on the Heroic Strike and Cleaves. That's pretty much what they're the most useful for. So it just gives you 3 free Heroic Strike or Cleaves. Death Wish enrages you, which is important for warriors. They do more damage. They let Fury warriors use Raging Blow. And then it also increases your rage generation during that time. And then Bull Rush is a new idea. Whenever you charge or intervene, it enrages you. So you have another way to get enraged on demand. Maybe you'll see those warriors moving around the battlefield. You can think of fun things to do by getting this and then looking at one of those charge talents on the first tier. And last, and certainly not least, let's let you absorb that for a minute. We just took Shockwave and Blade Storm and made them available to any warrior. And then we knew we needed something really powerful to compete with that. So we went back and looked at Warcraft 3, and we said, hey, that avatar sounds like a really fun ability to give to warriors. In this case, it's not themed just as a defensive cooldown, but increases your damage dealt, gives you excess rage, and makes you immune to movement impairing effects. And one of the things I really like about this tier is if you look at it with Warcraft 3 in mind, here you can see the Blade Master, the Tauren Chieftain, and the Mountain King all here together. You decide which one you want to be. Change is scary, and we know one of the initial reactions to hearing this talent thing is, wow, I used to get talents like every level, and now I'm only getting a talent every 15 levels. There's so fewer choices. I only get 6 talents instead of the 70 I used to get back in Burning Crusade or something. We really want the quality of the choice to be more interesting than the quantity of the choice. We want to focus on very cool talents that make you feel like you're playing differently, you're doing things you could never do before, and less about, well, someone mathed out that this talent over here was a 2% DPS upgrade, so I'm only going to pick 2 out of 3 ranks here. And honestly, what I think most of us did was just go and try to find someone with a good build rather than having fun experimenting ourselves. If you think about your current talent trees, just think about the class you play a lot for a minute, and there's some really cool talents in that tree. Most of those we're just going to give you for free now, so if you pick the right spec, you're going to get all that stuff anyway, and if some we're even going to elevate to the core class level. Then there's the really boring talents, the things that either no one took or were small DPS increases. I mean, you're glad to have them. More DPS or healing or survivability is always nice. They're not super compelling. You're not like, wow, I'm so glad I finally got this thing that made me have more armor. And then there are the actual fun talents, the talents that really felt like game changers. And that's what we want this new talent system to all be about. None of these are set in stone. I'd be surprised if this is what the talent trees look like by the time we ship, but you can definitely see the kind of philosophy, the kind of ideas we're going for. We're going to be super excited to get a lot of feedback. I'm sure it's going to start coming the second we step off the stage here. Find out about what's overpowered, what's a terrible idea, what we're going to do to ruin the game with a crazy druid ability or something. There's plenty of time to ask questions. We have 2 Q&As tomorrow that'll be appropriate. We're going to do a class item and professions QA. And then there'll be a QA with the WoW leads following that. And then I'm going to tell you about an online developer Q&A that we're going to do October 27th, where you guys can write in questions that the class designers can try to answer as a group about what are we trying to do with this ability, or, hey, this tier isn't as interesting as I thought it could be. Thank you very much. Hope you guys are excited as we are.
Thank you for attending the World of Warcraft Class Talent System Panel.
State the nature of your medical emergency.
All right, BlizzCon 2011 continues here. The fans are playing StarCraft. And coming up, we've actually got some breaking news on StarCraft in a multiplayer panel where we're going to hear more about the game and the action. And there's Kerrigan, who's an important part of Heart of the Swarm. We'll be covering that live.